if you want to claim that intelligence chiefs aren't as intelligent as they are, maybe you should do everyone a favor and get the word there spelled grammatically correct. Their education. Are you joking? J Pork's podcast, exclusively on East Coast Radio. Mile journey begins with one step. Progressives took that step on November 6th. The journey's not over, but we took a step in the right direction.
If you don't know what Staten Island is, it's like New York's abortion that lived.
Did you see New York 11 elected a Democrat? New York 11 is Staten Island, the most Trumpian place in New York City. Elected a Democrat. Don't try to tell me it wasn't a wave. Robert Mueller isn't the only person investigating Trump now. We have the House Intel Committee is now chaired by Adam Schiff, and they have subpoena power. And he will use it. And he will get to the bottom of this, like he's been trying to do for the last 2 years, and Devin Nunes has been stymieing him. Devin Nunes is no longer the chairman. The midnight runs to the White House are over. I made a promise to the listeners of East Coast Radio that if the Democrats did not mess up November, that if November 6th went our way, that we would have a little fun here on East Coast Radio. And if you stay tuned, I promise you this. Along with our fighting fascism and trying to save democracy, we will have a little fun. Because we earned it. Keep it locked to East Coast Radio. Remember, we got Dies in Your House at the end of the week. We got the J Porks podcast at the beginning of the week. Every week, East Coast Radio for the least heard voices. Get us on Patreon, patreon.com/JPorks, and follow us on Twitter at East Coast Radio. Let's punch fascism in the face. One podcast at a time.
If you don't know what Staten Island is, it's like New York's abortion that lived. Representing Staten Island. Staten Island was no joke.
Imagine me and you, I do. I think about you day and night. It's only right to think about the girl you love and hold her tight. So happy together. If I should call you up, invest the time, and you say you belong to me, and ease my mind. Imagine how the world could be so very fine, so happy together. I can't see me loving nobody but you all my life. When you're with me, baby, the skies will be blue for all my life.
Hey, yo. What is the word, peeps? Welcome back into another action-packed edition of the J Porks podcast, exclusively on East Coast Radio for the least heard voices. I am J Porks, with me as always on the other side of the glass, making sure this is a well-oiled podcast machine. Every week is the ever-popular Nobody. And on the intro, that is Weezer covering Happy Together. I meant to do 20 minutes on the Teal album on this podcast, but the news cycles have usurped my fun once again, unfortunately, for everybody listening. Let me just say this. This could be the last time my computer turns on. I know a lot of people, this podcast used to be personal. Now it's fighting fascism. But I just went through the last 2 hours with my computer at the blue screen of death or black screen of death, whatever it is. And it was, diagnosing and fixing itself, that is a prelude to this ending. And of course, this is the only time in the last 17 years that I have not had a real job. I know I'm helping my cousin out with, his route or whatever, delivering snack foods, but I can't get paid in party mix for the rest of my life, okay? So I would ask anybody listening, if you guys know anyone that's hiring, please let me know. And when I say that, I don't mean, and I'm sorry if this sounds like crass, but you may have noticed that I was working in a school the last 3 years. If I wanted to work in a school, I could work in a school. I don't want to get shot and killed. I want to work in retail. I want to take advantage of New York City's $15 an hour minimum wage. I don't need a good job if minimum wage is $15 an hour. I just need 20 hours a week. So, in the event that my computer breaks, or in the event I have to go get my freaking teeth pulled out, I have some money. Instead of the party mix and the $30 a day I'm making. Give you a little insight. ConcertConfessions.com, live music news and reviews for the fans by the fans. Every month, I'm going month to month on GoDaddy.com. And every month that website goes down. And my buddy Miz in California, he goes and sees all these metal shows and he takes awesome photos, man. And every month he has to message me and say, hey, the website's down. Do you need me to lend you the money? He has to send me $17 so I can put the website back online. It's insane. The struggle is real. I don't have a job. I applied for moveon.org. They had some position listed on Indeed. I probably flunked out of the writing sample portion because, I used to fancy myself a wordsmith. But I'm realizing that dreams are for nighttime. You know what I'm saying? I'm starting to realize that when you have dreams, they're not for the daytime. They're not for the 9 to 5. Dreams are for when you sleep. So, if Bed Bath & Beyond wants to let me fold towels, I am perfectly adept at doing that. I'm sorry that I'm a liberal. I promise any future employers that I will not bring my liberalness on the clock with me. I swear. I promise. I promise. All right. I'm trying to keep this under an hour today because I want to try an experiment. And that experiment is getting people to listen to my podcast. So if I keep it short and I keep it shorter and concise, maybe people will listen. Because I have a message and I need people to hear it. Two-pronged first half here. We got the intelligence agencies, again, coming out and saying Russia's a problem, everything Trump is saying is wrong, ISIS is a problem, Russia is ramping up their efforts for 2020. And then Trump's like, they're passive. They need to get their education. But he spelled their education, T-H-E-R-E. Wait a second. Their education where? Is it over there? Or over there? Or over there? That's the wrong there. And again, remember, dreams are for nighttime. Dreams are for when you sleep. It took me a long time. It was when I was like 30 and I was still in my mind figuring out which there, or there to use, that I realized that writing might not be something I can do. This is what authoritarianism does. This is what a Nazi police state does. It takes things you believe in, it takes your hopes and dreams, and it crushes them right in front of you. And it squashes them. And it doesn't let you thrive. The only people thriving are rich people. And hostile foreign nations. Like North Korea, who the intel chiefs, by the way, said is not denuclearizing. Again, we knew that. Because Trump said the opposite. So we all know that whatever Trump says, the opposite is actually happening. State of the Union. During the State of the Union, I will live stream on Twitter, Periscope. Twitter, Periscope via Twitter, or Twitter via Periscope. I will live stream for the entire 17 minutes that this guy can talk. If you guys want that. I'll probably do it anyway, even if you don't want it. Because if anybody knows how my life works, when people want me to do things, when people don't want me to do things, that's usually when I'm the most gung-ho about things. Because I'm special. So the intel chiefs need to get their education from there, or there, or there. Because you see, THERE is the direction. It's over there. They are has the apostrophe. There. That's how you know when you're saying they are. If you want to say they are telling the truth and I am lying, it would be there. THEY apostrophe RE. See? That's why I can't be a writer. Oh my God. And then later in the week, pulls out from the INF treaty. Is it INF? I believe it's INF. The nuclear arms treaty with Russia. He pulls out of it. So let's go over things that Vladimir Putin wants. America in political chaos. Check. He wants America to not have faith in NATO and for the American president to pull out of NATO. That's almost a check. Congress had to pass a bill reassuring NATO. Syria. U.S. pull out of Syria and let, there. Check. Oleg Deripaska, sanctions lifted. Check. How many things removes himself from the nuclear arms treaty? How many things? How many times does the current fascist regime running this country have to kowtow to Vladimir Putin before Republicans realize that this is going to be the end of their party? This is going to be the end of their party. Republicans have a chance to save it, but they don't want to save it. It's like the house is burning down. They took out a pack of matches like, screw it. Let's just, let's light it up more. It's like that meme of like the bear or whatever, the dog sitting having coffee in the house that's on fire. Everything's fine. Everything is fine. It's not fine. It's far from fine. Just keep a notebook. And keep a list of things that Trump has had a hand in that were good for America. And keep a list of things that Trump has had a hand in that have been good for Russia. And for some reason, you're going to find that Russia has more wins than America since November 2016. It's utterly disgusting. And they're not stopping, and it's not over. So I would beg everybody to tune in to my podcast every week, because after the break, we are going to delve into the Mueller probe. We got 3 things going on in the Mueller probe this week that we're going to talk about. Okay? We just have to make it clear. Again. For those who weren't listening. Russia made Trump happen. And there's no, don't laugh, don't say, oh, Jay, that's so silly. It's not funny, it's not silly, it's real, and if you don't take it seriously, it's going to be your politician who you wanted to vote for who's going to get an election stolen from them. As Americans, we should all be concerned and we should all be focused on only Americans deciding American elections. That's our goal. Republicans, Democrats, whatever, they're Americans. No hostile foreign governments. What has Congress done to combat the Russian meddling? What bills have been passed? Tell me. I'll wait. There was none. Let's get into the latest in the Mueller probe when we come back after this. Hey yo, J-Porks here, back to recording my own commercials. And here's the deal. You may have heard me complaining on today's podcast or a previous podcast about suffering through a summer of unemployment. Well, we have a fix for that, and it is called Patreon. That's right. East Coast Radio now has a Patreon page, and all you need to do is go to patreon.com/jporks, and there are 3 tiers that you can subscribe to, 3 tiers you can join to become a member of East Coast Radio, of the East Coast Radio community, of Porks Nation. You'll even have a chance to pick the name and all that stuff. And we are not offering just thank yous and shout-outs. We got bonus content. There is even a tier where you are able to talk to me on the phone every week. And we will go over what is happening in our country. And you could personally talk to me, J Pork. Personal interactions. There's a tier where there's a group. You can join a group, and you could affect where the podcast goes that week. I need a community. I need help. Not necessarily money, but I need people to be helping me out. So therefore, that's why I created a East Coast Radio Patreon. Not to be confused with a GoFundMe or a Kickstarter. This is not me with my handout. I have bonus content. Bonus content to offer you. I have tons of it. I have tons of time, and I want to give it to you. All you need to do is join us on Patreon. Become a Patreon. Patreon.com/jporks. Look for the East Coast Radio Patreon page. You'll see me. You'll see me with a microphone and dies in your house next to the name. You'll see that. So just go hit us on Patreon. You will get a thank you. I will know that, and you will have a lot to do with what goes down on the J Porks podcast and everything concerned with East Coast Radio. It's going to be a big year for us. 2018. Let's get it done. And we are back. J Porks podcast, episode 259. So let's get into the latest in the Mueller probe. Now, it's been a long investigation, and it's been a long week, as it normally is. The week ended last week with Roger Stone getting indicted, arrested, and getting his house searched, and getting terabytes of hard drives and information that Mueller probably already has. They've taken it from his house, and they're going to spend the next couple of months looking at this stuff. So that's where it started. But Matthew Whitaker, probably also last week, these weeks bleed into each other. Remember when Matthew Whitaker was up on the podium and he said, the Mueller probe is going to end soon? Everyone took that like, oh man, he knows. Do you see that he knows something? He's been briefed on it. If you play the whole clip, you hear him say, I think it might end soon. I think is a lot different than it will. I think could mean he's hypothesizing about things he has no idea about. He's just saying things to keep Trump happy. So you want to talk about keeping Trump happy? Don Jr. has been waiting to get indicted. And this is the big one this week. CNN comes out with a report that the blocked phone call that Don Jr. made was not to his father. The blocked phone call there was the Trump Tower meeting with Natalia Veselnitskaya, set up by the pop star Amon Agrilov, and Manafort, Kushner, Don Jr. were there. It was about adoptions. The meeting where if it is what you say it is, I love it. That meeting. So after that meeting, after the pop star called Don Jr., Don Jr. called a block number and then called back and said, yeah, let's do it. So the House Intel Committee, everybody has been saying, why can't we gotta subpoena the phone records. We have to know what number it is. It was definitely Trump. I said that. I said, how could it not be Trump? Well, story comes out how it could not be Trump. It is a real estate partner, a real estate buddy of Trump's and Don Jr.'s. But the Trump camp is celebrating this. Told you it wasn't my dad. Like, if Don Jr. knew that he didn't call his father in 2016 on that day, then why have we been dicking around this for 2 years already? Why have we been talking about this? You could have just came out and said who you called. Instead, you had to keep it close to the vest because you're a clown. And because there is definitely some illegal stuff that you did that you're going to be called out on the carpet for soon. Again, he wouldn't be going around telling friends he's going to be indicted if he thought he was innocent. But, on this block phone call, there's a little thread. Little 6-tweet thread from Craig Unger. And I'm going to read it. And no, I don't know who pays Craig Unger. I don't know. It doesn't even say he works for a website. He's wrote books. House of Trump, House of Putin, House of Bush, House of Saud, and other books. So let's see what Craig Unger has to say about this. In another edition of the Thread Count. It's going to be short, but it's going to happen. Okay. It's at Craig Unger on Twitter. It's about 2 days ago. Fascinating that blocked number phone call, circa 2016 Trump Tower meeting, went to real estate developer Howard Lorber, who was much, much more than a family friend. In 1996, when Trump went to Russia to try to develop a Trump Tower in Moscow, Lorber came with his partner, Bennett LeBeau. As per House of Trump, LeBeau had begun investing in Moscow in the early 90s when one inevitably dealt with dubious characters, among them Vadim Rabinovich, who had just taken part in a Tel Aviv meeting giving Simeon Mogilevich control of lucrative Ukraine energy trade. In effort to develop Trump Tower Moscow, they were shown around by Moscow Mayor Yuri Lutskov, who was very close to Mogilevich. And this guy's name is... his last name is Ivankov, and I can't do the first name. A murderous mobster who happened to be a Trump Tower resident on Fifth Avenue and a regular at Trump's Taj Mahal. Mayor Lutskov had other ties to Mogilevich through real estate company Sistema. Not much came of this 1996 trip, though Trump boasted it was going to be huge, or probably, as he said, huge. Fast forward to 2013, by this time, Trump has pinned hopes for Moscow development on billionaire real estate mogul Boris Agalarov, who also has ties to Mogilevich. In February 2013, his son Amon performed at a big Russia Mafia birthday party for Mogilevich. And Mogilevich gave a big Russia Mafia B-Day party. Mogilevich gave for Russian mob boss Sergei Mikhailov. So in 2016, June, Amon sets up infamous Trump Tower meeting with Don Jr., Jared, Manafort, and the Russians, in which Russians, many with ties to Russian Mafia clearly, want Team Trump to promise that sanctions will be lifted. Lorber is a new figure in this. What is his real role? So, this guy It's not that he called one of his friends. He called his dad's business partner. Why was Don Jr. on the phone with Howard Lorber at the time of the infamous Trump Tower meeting? Was it more than a coincidence? Were Lorber's alleged ties to Russian mafia relevant? Was it related to the Trump Tower Moscow project? Do we know? Again, that's Craig Unger. So, basically, what we're learning about this whole operation, as we shut the thread count music off, what we're learning about this whole operation is that people who have never governmented before know a real good deal about how to not trace things, how to not be caught. Like, alright, Don Jr. didn't call his dad. He knew that. But yet he wouldn't tell us who he called. Why? He called a guy with Russian mafia ties who has been to Russia with Trump in the 90s. This is not business as usual. That's not what this is. It's no time to celebrate. Like, if you look at, like, for instance, in the Roger Stone indictment, all the prosecutors that go on TV are saying the same thing. Again, these are prosecutors. I know they get paid. I know they're pundits on TV. But from a like when you watch Ari Melber, like sometimes I don't like things he says because he's always looking at it through like the lawyer lens. But like that's his lane and he stays in it. That and rap music. But like when these federal prosecutors come on, first of all, this needs to be said. Roger Stone is over there saying that they sent more people into his house than we sent into whatever in Benghazi. Trump says it was sad about what the FBI did to Roger Stone. That's weird. It's weird that they would say that. Because here I was under the impression. Because remember when NFL players were protesting that the police are a little too, like, gung-ho in the hood? That there's excessive police force used in neighborhoods that are urban neighborhoods and black kids are always getting arrested and shot before all the facts are out? Remember that? So, other side of that, now, these rich white people, Roger Stone, Trump, like, oh, excessive police force. You called the NFL players sons of bitches for trying to express that they don't like excessive police force. Not that they hate cops. Nobody said they hate police. They just want the excessive police force in the inner cities to be scaled back a bit. Maybe we don't want young black kids to be shot all the time. Maybe. And now Roger Stone and Trump, they're crying foul. Every FBI agent says that this was typical. This was not only an arrest, this was a search. You've seen Roger Stone's outfits. You think he's not going to burn materials? Every time I see this guy on TV, I'm just so mad that he is like, this is what he wants. And the Nixon pose isn't new. He did that in his high school yearbook. He did that Nixon pose. The judge told Roger Stone this isn't a book tour. So, she didn't give him a gag order yet. But she's like, listen, stop going on TV and talking about this. It's not a gag order. That judge, Amy Berman Jackson. The same judge who is doing Paul Manafort's trial right now. Not Ellis. Judge Ellis is the dickhead who wanted a mistrial. That guy's I think that guy's waiting in his chambers for Manafort's thing to get settled. But Amy Berman Jackson has Manafort and Stone, like, in her courtroom. So remember Matthew Whitaker said he thinks the Mueller probe is wrapping up? Roger Stone, Mueller's team said that they would like the trial to start in October. So for everybody who thought that this was wrapping up, that is not the case. House Democrats are about to face a real question here. The question being, do you wait for this Mueller report or do you impeach? And so Ted Lieu on Chris Hayes yesterday was talking about how they're going to have committees and they're going to start having hearings about this stuff because you can't just, go off articles in the paper and stuff. You need to do investigations. And the House committees were run by Republicans who were not interested in doing investigations for the last 2 years. So Don Jr. called his dad's real estate buddy, who knows the pop star that set up the meeting. And they're all tied to Russian bad guys. Not one of them is tied to a good guy from Russia. And I don't want people to think that I hate Russians. I don't. The Russian government is some bad folk. Russian people? Cool. Got no beef with them. I'm not a hateful person. But I mean, we're doing a victory lap over he called Lober. Just like, oh, Roger Stone didn't get the emails from WikiLeaks. He spoke to somebody. What? Yeah, because you guys set it up that way. For people who are supposed to be conservatives and law and order people, they're really keen on, finding their ways around it. It's like, I think I said it the other day on Dodging House, it's like those people that, they have Blue Lives Matter flags hanging outside their house, right? But then they get pulled over for a speeding ticket, and they're like, man, why don't the cops go solve real crimes? Like, yo, you broke the law. You broke the law. You should get charged. That's why I'm on my podcast talking about how I want pot to be legal, because I don't want to break the law anymore. I'm not sitting there saying, oh, it's no big deal. Oh, the cops shouldn't care. The cops shouldn't care? Whose job is that to say what cops, federal law enforcement should and shouldn't do? Are you a cop? That's why when I hear Glenn Kirshner on TV, Mimi Rocha, former prosecutors, people who have worked with the federal agents before, when they say this is normal, they needed to go in there because it was a search. They needed to preserve documents. It took them all day to get those documents out, and they're gonna have to look through all of that. That's why they tried to set the trial for October. The judge was like, I'm feeling over the summer, maybe July, August. Roger Stone's thinking, I can't get a gag order because I can't stay silent that long. Crazy. And this all comes on the heels of Mueller's also has another piece of this case, the Internet Research Agency. They're part of the people that got indicted for Russian hacking. So there were some discovery documents that were put out there to the media, things that were only in court, and they were forged to try to spread disinformation about Robert Mueller and his investigation. In a new filing in the Internet Research Agency's case, Mueller's team says they found evidence of discovery documents were forged as part of a disinformation campaign aimed at apparently discrediting ongoing investigations into Russian interference in the U.S. political system. This sentence in particular stands out to me. This is from NYC Southpaw. I'm not turning on the music. This sentence stands out in particular to me. Mr. Mueller's team perceives that whoever allegedly manipulated the discovery materials is trying to leave the impression that they don't have much on IRA and Russian collusion, and they really object to that. Here's the sentence. Here's the passage. In addition, the dissemination of the link to the webpage via a Twitter message, claiming to provide access to, quote, all the files Mueller had about the IRA and Russian collusion, and the fact that the webpage contains numerous irrelevant files, suggests that the person who created the webpage used their knowledge of the non-sensitive discovery to make it appear as though the irrelevant files contained on the webpage were the sum total evidence of IRA and Russian collusion gathered by law enforcement in this manner in an apparent effort to discredit the investigation. And the special counsel's office has filed an amended version of their filing, revising the timeline. And it's at Hacking Redstone who shared the piece. It says, who shared the documents. Special counsel's office cover motion explains that Concord's defense counsel prompted the change. The government is seeking to file the text of the Hackard Stone account's DMs under seal, but we've already have seen some of it from the reporters involved. So, Russians care. Russians want to make it seem like we're not, like they didn't hack us. And they'll do whatever it takes to discredit Mueller. Most of the online, like most of the discrediting Mueller, it doesn't even come from like the Senate, doesn't come from the House. The discrediting Mueller comes from online trolls. And half of those trolls are Republicans, but the other half are Russians. Actually, let's get a percentage. There's a percentage of them in there that are doing Russia's bidding without even knowing it. Useful idiots. Some are totally compromised. Some are just clueless. Like, Robert Mueller is not Ken Starr. This was a serious crime. We're not investigating if Donald Trump cheated on his wife. We already know he did. With porn stars that he paid money to keep quiet. That's the guy that lives in the White House right now. Just stick a pin in that for a second. Like, this is not some scandal with an intern. This is influencing the outcome of an election and then covering it up. This is a conspiracy. If you read Roger Stone's indictment, there's a lot of information that doesn't need to be in there, which leads me to believe that this thing is heading towards conspiracy. It's a conspiracy to defraud the United States with an election. It's a conspiracy. The collusion is the conspiracy. When you collude, you conspire. Republicans' charge of collusion isn't a crime doesn't hold when you're conspiring with a hostile foreign nation to steal an election. And it was we made it easy for them. We gave them, the Democrats had a candidate who I supported wholeheartedly, but a lot of Democrats didn't. So they saw Hillary Clinton, they added Bernie Sanders to the mix, courtesy of Tad Devine, whose best friend is Paul Manafort. And they swung the election to Trump with some votes and some emails and some WikiLeaks. You see WikiLeaks this morning? It wasn't this morning, it was over the weekend. WikiLeaks is so mad at Rachel Maddow right now. Like, did she touch a nerve? Because she had a piece about how Russia could knock something out. Let's find out what it was. So WikiLeaks tweeted this out. It said, U.S. largest audience TV host, MSC's Rachel Maddow, parentheses, Democratic Party aligned, this evening. Russia will freeze you and your family to death. So she retweets it, "Aw, you mad?" And then she follows it up. Unclassified director of National Intelligence Report this week says for the first time that China and Russia can cut portions of the U.S. electrical grid or power supply at will. We interviewed a Wall Street Journal energy reporter about it Wednesday night, which caused RT, Sputnik, and WikiLeaks to all freak out over our coverage. It's so weird to see what hits their alarm bells. And the DNI report is 5 or 6 pages, and she has shared it. It's at dni.gov/files, you know, all that stuff. So, like, the Russian media parade, RT, Sputnik, WikiLeaks, they are just all the way out there. Now, is Rachel Maddow saying that they did cut the power grids? No. But they could. Also, remember last year or 2 years ago? Remember when C-SPAN switched to Russia TV, Russia Today, for 10 straight minutes? How'd that happen? It's a conspiracy theory if nothing is going on. But like Trump-Russia and Russia trying to annex the United States is not a conspiracy theory. There are indictments. There are people who went to jail, people who are going to jail, people who have been to jail, people in jail. You can't for a second tell me that this is all made up. For anyone to say that is irresponsible in line. Now, if you want to sit there and be a Trump supporter and say, oh, well, Jay, I don't think Trump knew about it. All right, fine. That's your story. You're sticking to it. But don't sit here and tell me that it's made up. Don't sit here and tell me I saw an article, Mueller works for CNN. Dude, Robert Mueller has a Purple Heart in war for valor. Like, I don't think he's over there making up stories. That's why it's taken so long. Dotting his I's, crossing his T's. I can't wait to see the findings. And we will see the findings. I don't care what Bill Barr says. Oh, some of it's going to be classified. No, it's not. Again, this is the social media age. You think that's not finding its way to the public? I mean, maybe WikiLeaks should hack it for us, right? Oh, they wouldn't do that. That doesn't help Republicans. That doesn't help Trump. That's why WikiLeaks wouldn't do it, because WikiLeaks is only interested in propping up Trump, like Russia, all these other freaking authoritarian countries. Unbelievable. All right. We'll get some more stuff when we come back after this. Hey, yo! Jay Porks here, recording my own commercials as per usual. But I am here to tell you about going to patreon.com/JPorks, and you have the opportunity to help support Least Coast Radio by becoming a Least Coast Radio head. How do you do that, you say? Well, there are 3 different tiers to choose from, where you can find yourself bonus content, bonus features from the Jay Porks podcast, from Dies in Your House, from all things Least Coast Radio. Now, what are those features? Well, they're bonus shows. They're getting shows early. They're getting exclusive artwork mailed to the address of your choosing monthly. You can interact with all the hosts here on Least Coast Radio. You can get shout-outs on the podcast. Behind the scenes stuff. That's on Dies in Your House and the Jay Porks podcast. You get them both here on Least Coast Radio. Dies in Your House is usually the primer at the end of the week. The Jay Porks podcast is the long show. What we do at the beginning of the week to get you going, to take in everything that happened. But I need some help. And how you can help Least Coast Radio is by following us on Twitter at Least Coast Radio, going to patreon.com/JPorks, becoming a Patreon, becoming a Least Coast Radio head. And, you know, if you don't want to do any of those things, you can smash that subscribe button on iTunes or YouTube. And, you know, you can, it wouldn't hurt. It wouldn't hurt to share the podcast with your friends. So keep it locked to Least Coast Radio for the least heard voices. We're here fighting fascism, saving democracy, but we're also going to have a little fun. Keep it locked. And we are back. Still, J Perks Podcast 9. Finish up here really fast with chicken neck stuff. Now, House Democrat. The Democrats are the keepers of House, holders of the gavels now, right? So their first bill is an anti-corruption bill looking to change like campaign finance, and there's also some stuff in there about voting. Creating new national automatic voter registration that asks voters to opt out rather than opt in, ensuring more people will be signed up to vote. Early voting, same-day voter registration, and online voter registration will also be prompted. So you know how like now you have to go find out if you're registered to vote, you have to mail it in or whatever. Now they're saying that if you don't want to be registered to vote, you can let them know. Making Election Day a holiday for federal employees and encouraging private sector businesses to do the same. Requiring poll workers to provide a week's notice if poll sites are changed. And making colleges and universities a voter registration agency in addition to the DMV, among other updates. Also, ending partisan gerrymandering in federal elections and prohibiting voter roll purging. The bill would stop the use of non-votable mail being used as a way to remove voters from the rolls. Also, beefing up election security, including requiring the Director of National Intelligence to do regular checks on foreign threats. And recruiting and training more poll workers ahead of the 2020 election to cut down on long lines at the polls. So, the Democrats have a bill that's going to attempt to fix some of the issues people have voting. For instance, in New York, I find it appalling that we don't have early voting here. I think it's crazy that I need to wait. I know who I'm voting for now. I don't need to wait until Election Day and, wake up on Election Day and if it's raining, think, oh man, the election is done. I don't need that. That's not a thing. That's not a thing I want. So the Democrats are looking to make things, and none of that bill says we're going to do all this stuff in neighborhoods that vote Democratic, in districts that vote Democrat. No, that's across the land. Make everybody, every party, easier to vote. Because elections need to be decided by Americans, and if 2016 was any indication of what we need to do, voting is more important than anything, because countries like Russia, they rely on the disenfranchised voters to not vote. They rely on people writing in Bernie Sanders instead of an actual candidate who actually has a chance to win. Mitch McConnell, not a fan. He said that this is the latest attempt at a power grab by the Democrats. A power grab. Now, forget that Republicans have been rewriting voting laws for the last 8 years to their advantage. Democrats want to rewrite some laws to the advantage of all Americans. Mitch McConnell thinks that that is wrong. Mitch McConnell thinks that if you're an American and you have the desire to vote, you're not doing it right. Mitch McConnell believes that the Democrats bringing up a bill that helps end even any voter suppression that's going on, that makes it easier to vote, that gets more people to the polls, somehow he feels that that's not worthy for him to bring to the Senate floor. It's crazy. What kind of democracy is it where you want people not to vote? If you're Mitch McConnell, if you're Republican, and you think Republicans have the best ideas, and you think Republicans have the best plans to run the country, then let's let it play out in the election. without the help of foreign governments. Let's just let it play out. If you think that conservatism is the way to go, then you know what? Let all of America vote on it. And, if you feel that that's the best position, then you will be rewarded when they vote your people in. But if you're somebody that feels that, you're only in power because you were able to take votes away from people, remove people from the voter rolls, throw their votes out, make their polling place 5 miles from their house. If you want to make it harder for people to vote, it's not American. It's not American at all. It's not how democracy works. That's not a democracy. Power grab? How is it a power grab? We had 2 states, Florida and Georgia, that went to, we're about to go to recounts. 2000, Florida recount. How many times, listen, the popular vote winner is not the president. Like, how does this happen? Like, we need to do things to fix this. Like, I would like to ban the Electoral College, but that's not a thing that's happening. So we're going to try to get some voter rights stuff going. I love the automatic registration. I love that. Because then, anybody that turns 18, boom, let's go vote. And listen, man, like, Republicans should be happy about that, because 18-year-old children whose parents are hardcore conservatives, when they turn 18, they're conservative. So what's the problem? Go vote. It's the deal. But Mitch McConnell thinks it's a power grab. Mitch McConnell thinks that Americans having the right to vote, making it a little easier for them to vote. Listen, no one's texting in their vote from their phones. That's not a thing. But we would like to make it so you're not leaping over hurdles to vote. That makes it easier for all Americans. We elect leaders to lead Americans. We don't elect a leader, okay, we got a president, we got a leader, a Senate majority, whatever, and he's going to just, be in charge of the Republicans. No. It's in charge of every American. Doesn't matter who voted for you. Very disconcerting. With the Senate majority leader. Now, I know it probably has to do with his 2020 map. Like, Mitch McConnell is in trouble in 2020. Serious trouble. I don't know what goes down in Kentucky. It's Kentucky, right? It might not be Kentucky. I think it's Kentucky. Either way, Mitch McConnell's got some problems in 2020. And he's going to have to start acting normal. And stop acting like Trump's bitch. If he wants to save face at all. Look at Paul Ryan. What happened to Paul Ryan? Where's he at? Nowhere. Nowhere. He's a lobbyist in Wisconsin. He was Speaker of the House. What did he get? It's going to be the same thing with Chicken Neck. Same thing. If you behave un-American, you get removed from your post. Those are the rules. In America, we vote. And if there's a large swath of people in the country who were not able to vote, then we address that. Because again, this is America. Americans pick our leaders. And when we have an election where foreign governments were involved, we try to fix it so it doesn't happen again. Now, we should have been fixing it since like January 2017. But Republicans don't care because they got into power. So they were fine with keeping it the status quo. We're not. The new House of Representatives, the 116th Congress, not for it. Well, the House isn't anyway. A little harder in the Senate. So, I mean, this... If this is the hill Mitch McConnell's going to die on, then let's start going to his wake now. This will be Mitch McConnell's farewell tour. If he thinks that people getting the opportunity to vote is a power grab, then this will be his farewell tour. Like The Who. How many farewell tours are The Who going to go on? You know? Alright. That's about it for us today. We are going to get up on it here. But before we do, let me give you the list of websites you need to go to help keep me in business. If you call this business. ConcertConfessions.com. That's where you're going to get all your live music news and reviews for the fans, by the fans. And I promise you, I will go to a concert one day. I will. When I get a job, I will go to a concert. Remember the job numbers? All those jobs added, but I don't have a job. Strange. It's almost as if the numbers are fudged to make it seem like there are more jobs than there actually are. Because if there were that many jobs, wouldn't I have one? Again, I'm somebody who's always had a job. Retail, restaurants, I've always been employed. I'm not looking to work for NASA. You know? I'm looking to work retail. And I can't get that job? Why? It's because I'm liberal? If it's because I'm liberal, I'd like the ACLU to... I'd like to contact somebody from the ACLU and ask them if that's okay. If somebody who is not going to bring their politics to work, but somebody who, you know, is liberal when they're not on the clock, if that's going to affect somebody's way of life, then again, that's not American. Bosses, they vote. Like, they have people that work for them that didn't vote for the person they voted for. Why is this keeping me from getting a job? Drives me nuts. Anyway, ConcertConfessions.com, live music news and reviews for the fans, by the fans. Go to patreon.com/jporks. Check out the tiers, become a East Coast Radiohead. We're going to get some exclusive content going for all of our subscribers, all of the East Coast Radioheads. Exclusive stuff. When you become a East Coast Radiohead, you can get exclusive videos, you get personal phone calls, you get artwork sent to your house. Shout-outs on the podcast, input on the podcast, whatever. Patreon.com/jporks, East Coast Radioheads. And, go to leastcoastradio.weebly.com. That's going to be the new homepage, the new website. Let me know how that is. I hate GoDaddy, so I'm trying to switch to that. And also, last and most certainly not least, follow at Least Coast Radio on Twitter. Least Coast Radio for the least heard voices. And that's where you get us. Every episode of Dies in Your House. Every episode of the J Parks Podcast. Exclusively on Least Coast Radio. J Parks, this has been another exciting episode of the J Parks Podcast, exclusively on Least Coast Radio. Till next time, folks, resist, remove, and fight for recreational. Late.